Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Jenny Smith-Camejo. I remember to introduce myself this time. I am the Communications Director for Positive Women's Network USA. We are a national membership organization of women living with HIV, and we're also an advocacy organization. And this is the 8th installment of the PWNCares series, which we have produced with the support of VIV's Positive Action for Women program. And the purpose of this is a series that's really special. It's by and for women living with HIV. So basically, we got together with a bunch of our members on our communications action team and said, when you were first diagnosed with HIV, what would you have wanted to know? What would you have wanted to hear about from other women living with HIV? Stuff that you wouldn't necessarily get from the doctors. And so we came up with a great list of topics that folks felt were important. And then we we got folks to be agreed to be interviewed on video for talking about these topics, and we premiere them in this format as a virtual coffee table where participants can we can all watch the video together. Folks can ask questions, share their own experiences and comments in a sort of informal, judgment-free setting. So we're really happy for folks to be here with us. And also for those who don't know, so there's 8 videos in the series now, and if you go to our website, and I'll put the exact URL in the chat box, but each video comes with resources as well. So we have discussion guides available so that these videos can be used in support groups or meetings or other events. And we also put the recording of these virtual coffee tables up there as well. The video itself can be streamed online or downloaded from our website. So these are resources that you can also help get the word out about to care providers, service providers, folks you know, folks who facilitate support groups, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of uses for them, and I'm definitely happy to touch base with anyone who would like to know more about how they can use them or how they can help get them out further, with the goal of reaching women who have been recently diagnosed. And that's enough talking for me for right now. So I would love to give our panelists a moment to introduce themselves before we show the video. So I'm going to just go in alphabetical order by first name and start with Davina. And you're on mute, Dee.
My name is Davina Connor. I was diagnosed with HIV. This May is 22 years. I'm a co-chair for PWN Colorado, and that's it.
Great, thank you. Kamaria.
Hi everyone, this is Kamaria Laffrey, woman living with HIV, diagnosed in 2003. I'm located in Florida. I'm a part of the PWN inaugural policy fellowship program. I work for the Sarah Project, and my daughter will be 16, unlike what the video says, because that was a year ago. So.
Thank you. Yes, we recorded all the videos at once and have been releasing them at a sort of staggered pace. So that's why there is a delay between when they were filmed and when they're aired. Great, Maggie.
Hi, my name is Maggie Shapiro. I run a program in San Francisco that provides intensive medical case management to women and their families who have HIV. And over the last 2.5 years, we've partnered with clinics to provide support for women who are positive and pregnant, pre and postpartum intensive medical case management.
Thank you so much for being with us. And Octavia.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Octavia Lewis. I am a PWN board member. I was diagnosed in 2006, and I'm just honored to be on with all of my fierce sisters.
Thank you so much. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to show the video. Before I share my screen, let me make sure it's actually in the right place. Where did my thumb go? Sorry. Also, I have a million tabs open for no good reason. So, story of my life. Okay, I am going to share now. I'm sharing the sound. Okay. And again, to panelists, if there's any audio problem whatsoever, please come off mute and let me know. Otherwise, let's all stay muted just to make sure there's no background noise. That will go for me as well. Okay, I'm gonna go into full screen mode.
That's a loaded question. How did I become a mother?
Yeah, you look at this little baby in your arms, and you're like, is she really mine? Yeah, it was beautiful. I was still paranoid that she was gonna.
You know what, just kidding. I was showing you the wrong one. Apologies. This is the teaser. You may have already seen this one before. I just realized that I thought I was on the wrong page and I was not. Sorry. Okay, hold on.
And Jenny, it also seems like it's kind of like lagging or dragging a little bit.
Is it? Okay, let me. Okay, hold on one sec. Let me. I was exiting full screen.
End up contracting HIV after they told me she was negative.
Okay, this is okay. So I hope others learn a lesson from me, which is not to have so many tabs open at the same time, because then you'll accidentally be on the wrong one when you think you're on the right one. Okay, sorry. Give me just one sec. I'm gonna get us to the right place. There we go. All right. All right, now I'm going to try this again. My apologies.
My daughter is 14. She'll be 15 in a couple months, and she loves Jordans and getting her nails done, and she loves snuggles and being sarcastic and watching Netflix with me. She's literally my best friend. Like, she's a little version of me. And I also have to remember she's her own person because she has a lot of her dad in her too. Interestingly enough, I never wanted to have kids, so it was a surprise. I was always raised, don't bring home no babies, is what my grandma said, but I was not taught how to prevent that from happening. Unbeknownst to myself, I was HIV positive at the time. I just hadn't got tested. So because I became a mother is how I found out my status. Had I not given birth to my daughter, I would have never gotten tested. I was 21 when I had my daughter and 21 when I was diagnosed. Yeah.
I love children. I've always loved children. I even did foster care. So my first child was planned. She was planned. My second child was not planned. But I love children. My oldest daughter is 27 and my youngest daughter is 16. They're beautiful, both of them. Every time I look at them, I'm like, gosh, they're so pretty. My 16-year-old is getting ready to graduate high school next year, and she's doing really good. She wants to be a veterinarian, and she shadows at the veterinarian clinics. She's in cheer. She works at Subway. When I had my first child, I was 21. I was 21 years old. Yeah, and we planned it. Yeah, you look at this little baby in your arms, and you're like, is she really mine? Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah. When I was pregnant with the first one, I wasn't diagnosed with HIV. When I was pregnant with the second one, I was so paranoid. I was paranoid. I almost got rid of the child. Almost got rid of her until there was an infectious disease doctor that sent me to a hospital, a doctor that specialized in women diagnosed with HIV that were pregnant. And if I never drove an hour to that hospital, I probably wouldn't have her today. So it was different. I was always paranoid, always scared, always thinking something was wrong. I was always in emergency. So, but I really feel that was because I had HIV. I was always thinking something was wrong with the baby because I was still paranoid that she was going to end up contracting HIV after they told me she was negative. It took about a year after she was born because I kept thinking, what if it still comes up? What if it still comes up? And then, well, I'll say even after, when she would get sick, from the ages from 2 to 5, I would always think, well, maybe I should take her to the doctor to make sure she doesn't have HIV. And my husband used to say, she doesn't have HIV. You're just still paranoid, but it had been like 5 years. She didn't have HIV.
So motherhood was like a double whammy. I went through like 5 months of hiding it, and then obviously I'm showing, so I have to start talking about what's happening and then what life will look like after that. And adoption was not a option I could sit with very well. I know I was down a lot. I know I was hiding from myself a lot. So postpartum depression was a beast, and no one had defined that. I just remember looking at this little person, feeding her and crying and not being able to stop. And then thankfully that didn't last long because I have a support system that was starting to notice, like, this isn't like Kamaria. Like, my mom was like, we understood you were going through things, and there was some anger and some tension and resentment, just because of secrets that I kept. But then when the HIV diagnosis came, like 2 weeks after I brought the baby home, that shifted how everybody responded to me. So the postpartum was, I guess, easier for others to help me through. But that's not what I was thinking about through the postpartum. It was just like, there's this person that just came out of me and I don't know what to do. And then also I was really in some stigmatizing mindsets. Like, I thought I was going to die. My doctor hadn't told me that. I just had that in my head and trying to figure out, also during this time trying to figure out if my daughter had contracted HIV as well. So spending that whole year getting her tested and giving her treatment took a toll on me. Every day I woke up, I'm like, I'm still alive. I'm still here. So maybe the doctor was right. And maybe this isn't as bad as I thought it was. What helped me kind of push through that is the more research I did, the more I found out women weren't talking about it, especially women that looked like me, that were single moms. I didn't quite declare advocacy on that day, but I definitely knew that it wasn't something I was going to let keep me like hidden. I don't like feeling invisible. I also don't like the spotlight either, but I just definitely didn't want a health condition to make me feel like I couldn't be myself anymore. I was always the quiet girl. I didn't say much. I didn't do anything. I was always smiling and laughing. So for me to say something like that, it would turn into like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry type of thing. And then that opened the window for me to educate and let you know I don't need sympathy. I just need you to kind of check why that was your first reaction to have sympathy. I appreciate the compassion if that's where it's framed, but it's been interesting, especially with dating. Like, I would blurt it out just to see if the guy was really, are you interested in me, or are you just interested in getting in the bed? And usually it was just getting in the bed. So I was like, okay, moving on.
It was hard for me. It was really hard in the beginning. So no one knows, who's going to struggle when they're contracting HIV. Counseling helped. I went to counseling and I went to group at the hospital, and just my family. My family's always been there for me. So yeah, it was tough. I used to say, if I'm not here, who's going to take care of her? So I had to keep going so I can be the one to take care of her and not anybody else. Yeah, it was my daughter that got me through HIV. Yeah. Well, talking to my kids about my status, my oldest daughter, I started talking to her. I told her when she was 8. I told her when she was 8. She didn't really understand too much, but as the years went by, for me always talking about it, she began to understand what it was. And when she got older, she always says, "Oh, I forget you have it." So she doesn't really think about it. And then my youngest daughter, I told her when she was 13. And the way that I told her was because I'm in school and I've taken a public speaking class, and I did public speaking and talked about my status in my class. So I took the video and I put it on my laptop. And I said, "Come here, mommy wants to show you something." So she sat down and then played the video, and I let her listen. And when it was over, I turned around and I says, "Well," and she went, "I don't care." But I think that was because I talked about HIV and STDs and pregnancy all through the years while my kids were growing up. I never thought that I would be here this long. And as the years progressed, and 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I'm like, I'm still alive. No one said I was gonna be alive. It just said take this medication, and I'm still alive. And so I think just from living after so long, it just went away. It went away.
So my daughter she's been aware of HIV since she was a baby. And I always tell people, her understanding has been per age and maturity. First was just all she heard were the letters, and she knew the letters made mommy not feel well. Now she's a teenager, and she's been involved in like teen pregnancy prevention. And the leaders of those organizations have asked me to come in and do education. And I'll turn to her and I'm like, they want me to talk about HIV, and I'm candid. You're at an age now where your peers are aware. So I kind of give her the opportunity to make a decision if this is a world she wants to be brought into. So her understanding is supportive. She gets what I do. I've asked her to try to define like what I do, and she's like, "You travel a lot." And it's, she's very sarcastic, but I know at the end of the day, she's very supportive. I know she's checked a couple of friends about stigmatizing language, so at least she's doing that much. But I don't put pressure on her to take this on as a banner at all. I remember my 21st birthday, just sitting outside. I think I was 8 months pregnant. Yeah, I was 8 months pregnant, and knowing all my friends are out partying, because all my friends are like, our birthdays are clustered, so they were all having a good time, and I was sitting there thinking my life was about to end. But actually my life was beginning, because not only because I was going to give birth, but then find out my diagnosis and have this a whole other chapter that I didn't know was going to be attached to motherhood.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing and for being candid about, some of the stuff you all talked about is, stuff that's not always the easiest to discuss, ways that we feel at certain times, things that we consider along the way. So I really thank you both for sharing so openly and candidly with the world in that. Yeah, and so I would love to give an opportunity for Davina and Kamaria to add anything that they would like to, and then I'd also love for Octavia to share a little bit about her experience with motherhood. For Octavia was supposed to be part of this video, and unfortunately we were behind schedule and it didn't work out. But she also has some great experiences that she's going to be sharing with us. So so yeah, I'd love to give you all an opportunity to add anything you'd like to add or any context. No pressure. Feel free to.
No, not really. Kamaria had mentioned it's been a year or so since then. My daughter is 17 now, and she's graduating next week. So, yay!
Wow.
No more high school done. So I'm happy about that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And I honestly, I didn't really have anything to add. I was just reflecting on just some context things of me talking about the postpartum in that video. And I have been thinking about all my friends since then that as soon as I find out they've had the baby, like after the baby shower, my first thought is not, let me, get you diapers and stuff. Is how are you feeling? Like, because it's often, I remember no one asked me that. It was just, oh, look at the baby and here's some diapers or here's a gift card, but no one ever asked how I was doing. So I was just reflecting on that because another friend is about to give birth soon. So I just want to make sure she's okay.
Yeah, thank you. So important and gets overlooked way too often. Octavia has a beautiful son named Ethan. Would you care to share a little bit, Octavia, about? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, motherhood for me has definitely been challenging yet rewarding at the same token. Um, for me, going through the whole adoption process and becoming a parent, that was something that I was never taught that I could be. So, being in New York and, you know, being around supportive people that also supported the fact that I wanted to be a parent was something that was remarkable. And like I said, it was a long journey dealing with the courts and things, but it definitely was well worth it. To have my son and, to have been in his life since he was 6 months old, like, that is something that I wouldn't change for the world. And I, continue to try to bring him to events so that he can learn about HIV and also about other, people of experience so that when he gets older, he can make his own decisions on around how to engage, but also how to be that agent of change in which I, hope that he would become. So that's what motherhood has been for me.
Thank you so much. Oh, and I saw that beautiful video you did with the Story Center, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Your letter to Ethan was just, I was crying. I digress. Thank you. And then Maggie, from what you heard in the video, would you say that those experiences are pretty typical of what you see in your work, or any thoughts that you have from that?
Yeah, first, just really quick, I do have to hop off right around 1 o'clock, so I just wanted to preface that. But yeah, I mean, I think something that is really highlighted too is needing to identify what and who your support system is. I think for anybody who's becoming a mother, it is so important to identify like where you can get both physical and emotional help from. And I think what's special about our program and what we provide for so many of our women is that support, because we're often finding that there are women who are either their status isn't out with their family, or because of their status, they're alienated from their family. And our program really, really looks to fill in whatever gaps there might be for what somebody needs versus what they have access to.
Thank you so much. Great. So so we can start taking questions. What I would like for folks to do, I probably should have done this at the beginning, but what I would like for folks to do is any questions you have or comments, anything you'd like to share, if you can use the Q&A box rather than the chat box for those, just to make sure that you sort of get lost in the flow and the shuffle, because sometimes the chat box starts moving pretty quickly and it's hard to keep up with it. So everyone should see a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, so you can put questions in there, and I will ask them pretty much in the order they're received or in the order that makes sense, as the case may be. But so yeah, so while we wait for the first question, I actually love to throw a question out there. So a lot of what Kamaria and Dee talked about in the video was sort of focused on the very earliest, the actual like pregnancy, giving birth, the months to a year after that. But both of you, your daughters are much, they're older now, and Octavia's son is a little bit old. He's still little, but he's getting bigger. What would you say has been the most challenging part of motherhood in terms of connected to HIV that you have experienced so far? And how have you sort of dealt with that or overcome that? Or has there been anything that was especially challenging?
I think the hardest part, just in the beginning, with my oldest daughter is moving when I used to get sick a lot from the meds, and you have to explain to her that it was because of the HIV diagnosis and taking the meds, because I was sick a lot in the beginning from the meds, so I was always tired and wanted to stay in the bed. The meds were terrible. And there weren't very many challenges with my youngest daughter. It was with the oldest daughter when I was first diagnosed. So that was tough, trying to be a mother and trying to deal with the side effects of the medication and still getting up and going to work and taking her to school and cooking and all those fun things that mothers do. So yeah, that was a challenge.
And has that gotten better?
Oh, it's much better. With the new advancements of the medication, it's much better. There's no side effects anymore at all.
So I'll be like really transparent because this is supposed to be a safe space and a dollar family. Honestly, there's been a lot of challenges. Like some of them have been just from, and they're honestly they stem from me, but I know one specific one is showing her what a healthy lifestyle living with HIV looks like and having to combat my own internal stigma with that. And so for a long time after I started my treatment, which was actually years after my diagnosis, I was scared of being thin because, the stigma is that, you lose weight and you look sickly and things like that. And I've never been thin in my life, so it'd be obvious. And trying to, make sure I'm taking my treatment and kind of like struggling with all those things and showing her what a positive body image looks like. And, making sure that the words I'm using, and I think a lot of parents struggle with that with their children, period, and just making sure that they're showing their children what, a positive body image is. But with HIV, it was surprisingly more difficult because the only reason I was am struggling with, my weight issues is because I have this weird image in my head of what I don't want to look like, and I don't want people to start asking questions or assuming I'm sick. So that's just one of many, but her being 16 now and caring about fashion and what she looks like in her clothes, it's kind of resurfaced. So it's freaking me out a little bit. But again, also trying to not project that onto her. So yeah, that's just one of them.
Thank you. How about for you, Octavia?
Right now, I really have not had too many with him right now. I think the only challenge with me is sometimes I do, struggle with pill fatigue. And sometimes I just feel like, oh goodness, like I know it's only one, but like I don't feel like taking it for the night, Octavia, but I know I have to take it because I want to be there for my son. And I think the thing that keeps me taking that one pill is the fact that I don't want to leave him at an early age. Like I'm not afraid of dying because I know that's something that we all must face. My only fear with dying was would be dying so young, and him not understanding and getting, the gist of everything that I was trying to convey or trying to show to him. So for me, that's why I find it very important that whenever I have the opportunity to take him to any conference, um, I take him so that he can see. Because, like Kamaria said, that was one thing that I was afraid of. Like, I've always been a big girl. And, like, I've never wanted to, like, just lose massive amounts of weight because people would automatically assume or they would think, or at least that's what's in my mindset. So for me, that's really the only challenge or struggle that I have right now is, you know, leaving him too soon. But other than that, like I say, he's not at the age where we have had the conversation around, what HIV is, and also around my identity, and also around the fact that, that he's adopted. So we have not gotten to that stage. But when we do get there, I would definitely, be honest and be upfront with him as much as I can, because again, I want him to again navigate the spaces and with integrity and that humility that is needed. So again, that's just I guess my struggle.
Thank you. And Maggie, what are some of the biggest challenges that you hear from the folks that you work with?
I think especially like right after a lot of our clients will give birth, they're really excited, but just sort of overwhelmed with everything that has to be done. Sort of a big role that our case managers have helped play is with just helping our clients get acquainted with what their medical home will look like after the baby's born, and especially focusing on helping our clients get those 3 baby blood draws that they need to do to rule out the virus in the baby. That is, I think, like a lot of you are saying, that was sort of like a huge weight that you were feeling, like making sure that your baby wasn't positive. And once that gets, once they're past that hurdle, everything else is sort of like, okay, now I just have to figure out what my new normal is going to be. Once I get past this, then we can start coming up with a routine. So I do think that that's a big anxiety that a lot of our clients have. And then also really just sort of establishing like where they can get resources, where they can get support, where they can connect with other people who are like them, and share experiences or share fears in a way where they're not going to feel judged. Or I think especially because so many of them can't rely on their families, there's always that fear that they're going to say, like, I'm worried about this aspect of being a mother, and then whoever is helping them is going to judge them or make them feel like it's not okay to be feeling like that. And just providing a space where they can say what they're thinking and be received warmly, I think makes a huge difference for the women that we're working with.
Thank you. So we have a question here. Have any of you ever felt afraid to feed or hold your child because you're living with HIV?
I would say, sorry, this is Kamaria. No, short answer, no. But there was a moment, I think, Dee, you touched on this too, where like, the doctors still don't know what was wrong, but there was a point after my diagnosis where I was super sensitive to like temperature change and sensitive to touch. So like my baby had to learn, like baby girl, she was talking and walking at this point, but she had to learn to ask me for a hug before, kids just run up to you and hug you. And she had to learn to stop and ask, Mommy, is it okay to hug you? That was hard. And then time went by and I got better. But as far as me being afraid of like, her acquiring HIV from me holding her or anything like that, no. But do you also touched on like, it still comes in your mind when they get sick, like, well, maybe I should take them to the doctor. And she's 16 and I still every now and then I just look at her, I'm like, because she's never been sick, so I'm just like,
So do I. Yeah.
maybe. And then I know she's at an age where like most teens start becoming sexually active, and I'm just like, oh my God, maybe I should just go get her tested. Like these thoughts pop in your head, and I don't know if it's just a mom thing, or it's an HIV thing, or what. But yeah.
I wasn't not having her, I didn't think that I was going to transmit HIV by holding her or anything. A lot of my issues being diagnosed were before I got pregnant. So I can say that I had a lot of nieces and nephews. There's so many I can't count on four hands. So I didn't want my oldest daughter around me when I was first diagnosed because I thought that I was going to transmit HIV to her by hugging and kissing and loving her off of my spoon, my nieces and nephews. So I didn't go around them a lot. When there were birthday parties and the kids walk up to you, so let me taste. I wouldn't let anybody taste anything. And then even after I had my youngest daughter and I was comfortable with being diagnosed and we had family functions, I would still feel a little odd, when someone's child would want to take something off of my plate. And it wasn't that I thought that they were going to contract HIV. I was worried about what other people in the family were thinking if I gave them something off of my plate. So I just didn't. But other than that, no. After I had it,
For me, definitely not. When Ethan came into my life, he was 6 months old, so I was so ecstatic. I, couldn't put him down, to be honest. Um, so I was never afraid about that, but I will, be honest and transparent. Like what Davina said about someone taking stuff off your plate and then people see you like, you chew off, you bite off something and then you give it to your child or, you give it to someone else. Like that part I did think. And I did like pause for a second, like, oh, wait. So I had those moments. But as far as like just holding him, never had any inklings. But yes, I did. It did register in the back of my mind. Like how Davina said, like going to family gatherings with him and like if people see you giving him something or people see you giving, someone else in the family something like that was always in the back of my mind. But again, like holding him and taking care of him and nurturing him, like I it never crossed my mind about my HIV status. All I could think about was the love, the blessing that I had him there and to be able to give this love to another human being. So that's how it came across my mind when I had him.
Thank you. We have a question here. I was pregnant with my second child when I received my diagnosis. And as both of them have gotten older, how do you teach them about sharing your status so that they won't be hurt? Any thoughts on? I think what she's asking maybe is about telling other people that she is living with HIV.
With my youngest daughter, I think it's a little bit harder. And I think it's because my oldest daughter, every child is different, you know. No child is the same. I don't care how you look at it. And that's why I told my youngest daughter when she was 13 and my oldest daughter when she was 8. My youngest daughter, she doesn't care, but then I think she does. It's hard to read her sometimes. Um, I do a podcast in my basement, and there's HIV things everywhere down there on the walls, the table, everywhere. And she was going in the basement and was taking her friends down. I said, no, what are you doing? I said, I have all those things down there. They're going to ask you questions. And she goes, oh, I don't care. So, but then one of the teachers or the staff at the school that knows my status asked me about speaking. And I talked to my daughter about it. And she didn't really answer. She just went, so that let me know she didn't want me to. So it's tough. It's tough. I don't know if it's because she's close to the friends that were over and it's okay for them to know, but she didn't want everyone in the school to know. And I'm okay with that because that's her part of her life, and I don't want to disrupt her life and then have people stigmatize against her because I'm diagnosed. So I try to, it's hard, it's really hard. Um, but yeah, that's the only way that I can explain it. It's hard. I don't know how to, she shares it with who she feels she needs to share it with. And I don't go beyond that.
And Dee, I think that's super important. You pretty much said everything I was going to say, but like having your children kind of create their own space of, how involved they want to be. I know for the town that we live in, it's a very small town. Like, even though there's there's a lot of different high schools, all the high school kids know one another. And I know as much as I would love to go in the high schools and talk about HIV, that I pretty much have to wait till she's graduated, to really like push this county the way I really, really want to. And I think she's also aware of that. And I know that she sees um, the way others treat me as far as like respecting me in my space and that I talk about HIV. And that kind of helps her be more comfortable with it. Um, but as far as like sitting her down and having a conversation about it, it's kind of just I don't know, just it's hard, but like just letting them understand like it's their choice, that they don't have to be forced into advocacy or status disclosure. But your specific question of what I heard, like how to talk to them about your status without them being hurt. Um, I've told my daughter that she doesn't have to defend me, that she can come to me with the issues and I'll address it as I would with any other thing. I think, people are going to talk about you as far as people are people and people gossip, especially in a small town. And I'm not even talking about just HIV. I'm talking about like who you're living with or where you live or where you work or where they saw you after work. People talk. So I think creating whatever it is that helps you and your children function, let them know like where they can stand as far as supporting you or being removed from a situation. But you know your children best. Um, that's really the only way I can describe it.
Thank you. Octavia or Maggie, did you all have any thoughts on this question around talking about status?
I echo those sentiments. I do believe in letting them have, you know, not only autonomy over their body, but autonomy over their whole situation. And like, again, I try to involve him at a young age. He's been in Pause Magazine with me. He's been to a lot of conferences with me. He's been on stage with me at a national conference. But I also know that once, he gets older and starts to find his own self, that may not be something that he continues to want to do. And I also have to know that I have to be okay with that because that's him finding out, who he wants to be and what he's going to be. And um, I don't want to fringe upon that. So for me, yeah, I'm going to be honest and have those conversations. But if he ever be like, okay, mom, I need a break for a second, then I'm going to respect that. And I think, just learning and being around, you know, these two strong black women that are on this webinar with me right now, and like dropping that knowledge and those gems, like it's like a confirmation for me. Like, even though they are a part of you, they don't have to, be standing in the gap for you. And I think that is important to recognize that, even though I am positive and he is not, that I don't want that to be his burden to carry. And I don't want him to always feel like that he's going to have to take up for me, if that may be the case. But I do want him to be educated enough to know, you know, the myths, the misconceptions, the falsehoods with, science, with everything that's going on. But as far as like him having his own space, like, I'm going to acknowledge that and I'm going to accept that. So that's what I can say on that.
I think just being a parent and wanting, like Kamaria says, you're wanting your children to have their own, what you do or what the advocacy and what you're doing. It's not part of their life. It's part of your life, even though you're the household and your life is together. That's not part of your life. Um, I know that I'm always asking my daughter, "Are you tired of me talking about HIV?" I mean, I talk about it all the time, and I have to always ask her, "Is she tired of it? Are you tired of me talking about it?" She goes, "No, Mommy, it's okay." But I know it irritates her at times, but I think that just me doing what I do, I'm praying that her being the age that she is now, it helps her to think, so she won't turn around and have unprotected sex or, do you know what I'm saying? So I'm praying that because her mother is diagnosed with HIV, and because she hears me speaking about HIV and STDs and pregnancy so much, that she will be more aware when she goes out into the world as an adult, even as a teenager now. So it's scary. It's very scary.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add. I think this, like what these women are saying, it's such a your relationship with your child is such a personal thing, and how our children clients regard their mother's status is so like individual and unique, and whatever our client who's the mother's comfort level is, whether she does disclose or hasn't or is still trying to figure out, we do our best to meet her where she's at and work with what she's feeling and how she's feeling, and your status is such a personal thing that I like to let our women decide what they think about it and then support however they need.
We have a question here. In your opinion, what needs or support do you think it's important for public health organizations to know to better assist women who are pregnant or who want to become pregnant who are living with HIV? And I would love for all of you to answer this, because I'm sure everyone has your own experiences and opinions.
Since I have to hop off soon, I wouldn't mind starting, but I think I know how spoiled we are in San Francisco. I mean, in San Francisco, we do have a lot of resources, and I think about other parts of the country that just simply don't. I mean, even for San Francisco, the program that I manage is the only program in San Francisco that caters specifically to HIV positive women, which is great. And I love being part of that agency, but I think that there just needs to be more. And not just more, but greater information around how to access those things. And I think that, like this network that you have here is great. And I'm very thankful again that you brought me in this week to talk. But other than our program and through the clinics that we work at, there aren't a lot of resources that connect women with similar experiences, or, that is just a support group for positive mothers. And the growth and the relationships that I've seen from our clients develop from those resources has been some of the greatest support and some of the things that our clients are most thankful for when they join our program. So I think just sort of funneling more resources into this population is really important, and just helping empower everybody that, while our program does provide it does provide a means to get to these things, we're really just the middleman. I mean, so much of the work and so much of the relationship forging happens with the women who are utilizing these resources. And I think just continuing to empower them and, upping the access for people is where public service needs to go.
Thank you.
I would. Oh, go ahead, Octavia.
No. Go ahead, love.
I was just gonna add. I think earlier I was talking about like the postpartum thing, and I mean I haven't been pregnant in 16 years, so I don't know what the services look like for pregnant women, but Lord have mercy. But I do know like a lot of my friends, have recently delivered, and I just think the mental health aspect needs to be added to that as well. Of not just waiting for that, after the delivery and then like looking for these like drastic signs of depression, because I know with me there wasn't drastic. I literally just held the baby and cried. Like I didn't go on any tangents. I ate, I slept, I just cried, like just tears just falling, no weeping, no sound, just tears. So I don't know if people are being trained adequately to know like that was postpartum. Like I had to tell my doctor, it was a couple years afterwards that I was telling my doctor about that. And for her to be like, yeah, that's definitely what that was. And I know with some people like, well, I don't have to go into those specifics, but I know there's certain, medications that you can take to help balance that out. So I just would like to hear more about it. I guess I'm not hearing enough about mental health aspect for women living with HIV that throughout their pregnancy of their mental health capacity.
Yeah,
Oh,
I agree with Kamaria. The mental health aspect is huge with women diagnosed with HIV. I went through it for many years being diagnosed, so I think that's one of the big things that I think they need more resources on is a mental health aspect.
I guess for me it's a little different. One, I would like to see women that are living with HIV be at the forefront of making decisions for women living with HIV. Um, Oftentimes it is um, people that have no real world connection to the population that are making best practices and policies for, you know, people that again they have no connection to. So for me, it would be about centering the care around those women in which in particular is there to treat. I would also like to see that services become better for women in the South. Like I think that we have to move away from the narrative of, oh my gosh, she's so strong and oh, just great. That sometimes it's okay not to be strong and to have a support system that's going to be there for you when you're strong or when you're not strong. And I don't think that, in particular, our medical settings have done that, in particular for women of color, and I'm going to say in the South. We can talk about the advances that, up north and some places in the Midwest and even out west have. But then if you look at the things that women are getting in the South, you would think you're in a developing country, but we're all in the United States. But the way the continuum of care is across the spectrum is not the same. And so I think we definitely need to do a better job at making sure that there's a safety net there to catch our women, our sisters, when they are falling between the cracks. Because no woman should have to leave her home to drive 2, 3, 4, 5 hours away to get adequate health care. Like that's really not realistic if we're going to be honest for some women in the rural South. Some of them may not even have access to a vehicle. And the fact that they may not be able to get that quality of care there, I think we definitely have to invest more in the South and make sure that when we are investing in those rural areas, it is not a 1, 2, 3 year type of thing. That it has to be a continuous, ongoing way of funding, the type of care that women need.
Maggie has to go, so she just said bye to
Thank
everyone.
you, Octavia. Yeah.
Yeah, can I just add something to that really specific? Octavia, since you highlighted the South, and you and I have had conversations about how the southern states are like developing countries, something very specific that I heard a woman say to me that a doctor told her that living with HIV, she should never conceive and has been encouraged to have abortions because she was HIV positive. And I just want to address that if there's any women that are listening to this and a doctor has told you that, call shenanigans, call BS, and call whatever federal agency, call PWN, call whoever to get the facts to that doctor as soon as possible, because that's not true. And you shouldn't have to take medical advice that dictates what you do with your body based off of stigma. Um, I was shocked to hear that in 2018 when I did. I'd heard it in 2003. It was still shouldn't have been said. And I knew it was something that had been told throughout our history of HIV. But to hear something like that so recent it made me feel ill, because of what this particular woman had to go through. Um, she ended up not carrying her child to term because of other issues, but she still questions, like, did the doctor do something to her? Now she just has all these doubts and fears in her mind, and no person should have to live like that.
Yeah, see, that was years ago.
Yeah,
Many
but this was
doctors.
not years ago when she
Yeah,
was told that.
yeah. I was told that
Mm,
by the infectious disease doctor that sent me to an hour away and told me I should have a baby. And it was dangerous, but he sent me an hour away to see a specialist. So, yeah, for that to even happen now, that's scary. It's really scary.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely not okay. And it
No.
sort of segues into another question I wanted to ask you all. Into like, how do you, we're in sort of the era of U equals U right now, undetectable equals untransmittable. How do you think that interfaces with motherhood? With like, have you seen that affects people's decisions, or just kind of wondering.
Well, that's all I talk about. So, but I get so many messages from women diagnosed. It's sensitive, very sensitive for me. That said that they never wanted to have kids, and now they know that they can. So, it just takes time, able to hear that I helped someone just from posting videos about you this year. So, it's helping a lot of women because a lot of them don't think they can, even still today, don't think they can have children. They don't even bother. They don't ask. They don't bother. And this is really this helped a lot. It's given them, actually, like they say, it's given them hope. So, sorry.
And I don't know if any of you know if because I know a lot of doctors are still not sharing that information with their patients, and I definitely think that's sort of to the point of the last question around what public health organizations and agencies need to know. I think that's a super important one, is that every person living with HIV needs to be given that information by their doctor, but especially in the context of
That is true. Right, I think that is true, but we also have to be realistic and we also have to be honest that it depends on where you go to get your care. A lot of the care that, poor women in some urban settings also receive is rooted in stigma. And when they hear, you could use something like, oh, well, that's a sign for you to go be promiscuous. And no, we don't want to support that message. And I'm like, first of all, if you look at the science, it does not mean that one is going to, be more or less promiscuous. However, if one chose to be, that is their business. But what I am saying is, you should not be withholding information from anyone, period, because of your own beliefs or your own stigmas. And I think that is something that we really need to do. We really need to do a better job at calling what it is, because oftentimes when we talk about, you know, the statistics and, you know, women in HIV, we oftentimes like to put the fault on the woman. Well, why is she not staying in care? Why is she not taking her meds? Without looking at all of these other root causes as to why or why women are doing what they're doing. Because if you're going somewhere and you're being stigmatized every time you go, you're not going to be likely to want to take your meds. You're not going to be likely to want to go back and continue to stay in care. Because again, for some people to go to the doctor, that's a traumatic experience. And I think that we have to acknowledge that even in 2019, that there are still some doctors that are doing some things in which they should not be doing. They are doing things that may not be illegal, but it's unethical. Like Kamara just, brought up the fact of what the woman was told in 2018. Like, come on now. You can't tell me that you have not seen, the American Academy of Medicine Journal, or you haven't done anything for continuing education. You should know that. And the fact that you're stigmatizing someone like that says a lot about the content of your character. And now you're trying to put that on someone else. And that's a burden that, again, that woman didn't go there for that. But at the end of the day, she's leaving with that. So that's adding to her own emotional suitcase that she got to carry around, not only worrying about the stigma that may happen with her family or even the things that are happening with her, but now she has to carry the fact that now her own doctor is stigmatizing her. The person that's supposed to be giving her life-sustaining medications and supposed to be giving her ways in which she can live a happier and productive life, and that's not happening. So I think we do have to really start calling things what it is. And to me, that's medically, being neglectful. And that's being downright harmful, if you ask me. But again, that's just my opinion on it.
I agree. I think our other panelists do as well. I see heads nodding. Thank you for lifting that up. It looks like Tana wants to talk. Tana, if you still want to talk, I have given you permission. If you're still there and you had something you wanted to say, you can unmute yourself. She had raised her hand.
No, Jenny, I didn't have anything. I hit that by accident. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Just wanted to make sure. And I have a question actually for Octavia, because Octavia adopted, and I'm just wondering, did you, first of all, sort of how did you start that process, and did you run into any obstacles related to HIV status or gender identity, or how did it work for you?
No, I didn't particularly run into any barriers around being positive, because at the time I was just a foster parent, and I had two toddlers at the time when I did the Spread and Pause magazine. And I think the only thing that came up around it was the fact that I had verbal consent from one of the parents, and the other parent was considered not to be capable to give her consent. So I think that was the only time I really ran into any issues around being positive and trying to be a foster parent and adopting. But other than that, I really have not had any issues. Like I said, it took a while with the adoption process for Ethan, because his mother, she was mentally challenged, and she had adult protective services. So I think that's what prolonged the adoption process. But other than that, I've had friends that have gone through it and their stuff was closed within 12 to 18 months. But again, I understood why mine took so long because we didn't want to have any ramifications later on with it being challenged. So that's why it took so long for Ethan's adoption to be finalized. But no, I'm actually looking forward to going through the process again.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Exciting. And so how did you start fostering?
Well, I did my research first. I looked at agencies that were LGBT affirming, and they had their own in-house training as well as they did external trainings around cultural competency. So I found a good one in the Bronx, and I was excited about it. I went through my classes, but it took me after I completed my classes. It was almost a year and a half before I actually took a child because I wanted to get an older child. That was almost my thing because I like to travel, I like to do things. So I really didn't want a baby. I really wanted to adopt a older child because once, children get a certain age in foster care, the chances of them being adopted starts to go down once they hit their preteens and teens and they're still in foster care. So it was always in the back of my mind that I was going to have a teenager, that we was going to, travel the country, see things, but that's not how it happened. I ended up getting two babies, and I was like, ooh, this is a lot. So, I mean, it took some adjusting, but I mean, it was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. So, yeah, so that's how I went through becoming a foster slash adopted parent.
That's awesome.
God gave you what you were supposed to have
Indeed. And yes, indeed.
with his precious self.
And Dee, you said that you've fostered kids too, right?
Yes, I did.
Can you share a little about how that was for you?
I did foster care for developmentally disabled children. Because I worked with developmentally disabled children for 10 years, and then I decided to do foster care. It was very challenging. Goodness, I commend parents who give birth and raise children that are developmentally disabled. I would have never thought. Working with them was totally different than having them in the home, but I did it. Like I said, I love children. I'm thinking about doing foster care again once my daughter's out the house. But like Octavia said, it'll be older children. A lot of people probably don't know, but I'm married and my husband is from Nigeria. So we're thinking about doing foster care for children that have. So we'll see how that turns out. But children diagnosed with HIV.
That's great. Great. So, does anyone else have any questions or would like to share anything with our panelists, with other participants? Before we go, I don't see any more questions in the Q&A box. If you do have any questions, please go ahead and share them now. Or okay, let's see, Naima's raising her hand. I have made it where you can talk, Naima, if you have a question. Just unmute yourself. I see you unmuted, but I don't hear you. Oh, she doesn't have a mic. Okay. If you have a question, can you put it in the Q&A box? Or in the chat box is fine too. And while she does that, I'm going to give one last question for me. What is the most rewarding part of having kids? Because See, I'm not a mom, and so I'm still trying to figure this out. What is what is it that feels great about having kids?
They give you joy. How can you explain that? Just like now, I can explain this. My daughter's going to graduate. Okay, soon she won't be at home, and it makes me sad. Um, the house will be quiet. I think you get used to that. Fix this mess. Clean up your room. Why is your bathroom dirty? Where are you going? Call me when you get there. When she's gone, I don't have that. It just gives you joy. I don't know. It gives you a sense of knowing that there's somebody around all the time. I say that I can bicker with, but I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it a lot. She's already talking about I'm gonna leave. You're not going anywhere. So, it's just they give joy. They give you so much joy.
I agree, Dee. They give you this weird joy, and for me, the rewarding thing is um, seeing my daughter become her own person. I mean, she is the person I bicker with. Like, people that are around us on a regular, if they don't realize she's my kid, they think like we're just friends because the way we talk to each other, like, it's entertaining. But anyway, but being able to step back from the mom in me and the friend and see her like stand up for herself. Like, I remember there was a day she was going to be moved out of the math class she was in, and the math teacher she had was a male and a man of color, and she was determined to keep him as her teacher. And so I was like, okay, we're going up to this meeting. I'm going to talk to your guidance counselor. This is what I'm going to do. Da 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 da. And really, she didn't say this, but all she wanted me to do was just sit there. She didn't want me to say anything because she just wanted authority, familiar authority in the room. But she pretty much told me to hush. And she was like, because the guidance counselor was acting like they weren't going to change her schedule back. And she like sat forward and she's like, no, this is why I need this. And like to watch her do that was, I don't know, it just filled me with this sense of like, yes, that's my kid. And that's just one of endless rewards of just seeing them be their own person, regardless of how that looks. And then, Dee, I said I was not going to cry on this webinar. I even tweeted it that I hadn't cried yet. And then you start in.
I try
So
not to.
there's a tear right in the corner of my eye that I'm not going to release. But my heart is full. So I have to go squeeze on my kid and irritate her when I get off the webinar. And then I'll cry.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's what it is.
And like, I confirm all of that. Like, for me, with him being so young, it's the magical moments that I get to capture on video. It's the moments that I get to see and like be etched in my memory, hopefully until I get ready to leave this side. But it's all of those things, like looking at him since he was a baby and transforming into a toddler, and then learning how to walk, and like learning how to put your clothes on, like seeing all of that growth and knowing that you were instrumental in that and being a part of that. And then to see them articulate well for themselves. Like, and he can do that very well. Like, to see that and to witness that and to kind of feel like, you know what, I'm doing the best I can. So I know when that time comes for you to leave, yes, I'm still going to be worried because you're my child, but at least I'll know that I have given you the best parts of me. And I think that's what makes it all worthwhile. Even the time that I know it's going to happen, the slamming of the doors and like, oh, I don't want to do this, and the rebellious stage and like all of that. So again, even though I haven't experienced that, I am like looking forward to that just to feel like, oh God, what is it gonna be like? But to know even through all of that, like that love never falters, like that love never wavers. It's like that's my child. Like we had it, and then we have our moments now, and I'm like, no, I'm mad with you. He'll come in a few minutes later. So, Mom, are you still mad? Like, I'm here. Are you still mad? And I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that makes you be like, oh, like, yes, I'm still in my feelings, but how can I help you? So like, he knows how to like make me smile and to brighten up my day. Because I'm telling you, being an active and an advocate, we have some rough days. We have some really, really rough days. And, it's good that when we come back from traveling that we can go home and, like our child is there to like, you know what, can I get a hug? Because it's like, out of all the stuff you haven't been through, like a hug can make all that okay. And I think that's one of the things to me, which is remarkable about being a parent, is that they can offset all of that other stuff with even a hug, a smile, even a kiss on the cheek. So I think that's what makes it special for me.
You. Okay, so we have, and Lapina says, thanks, beautiful sisters, for being organic and brave. Mother's Day continues. Thank you, Lapina. And then we have one last question here. What is the best advice you received on how to be a mom with HIV? Do you remember any one piece of advice that stands out that you thought was?
Just being a parent. I don't really think it's being another diagnosed with HIV. Being a parent doesn't come with a handbook at all. So I didn't get any advice on parent diagnosed with HIV. And being a parent, period, you just have to. I always say, when someone has a child, what do you think when you have that child?
I can't hear you very well. Can you maybe like hold the microphone closer?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's pretty faint.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me better?
I think so.
Okay, I said when you have a child and you look at the child, and what are you thinking when you look at your child? It's what do you want for this child? I'm responsible for this child, and the steps that you have to take to be a responsible parent in order to watch this child grow into something spectacular, just a human being that just teaching them about life. So I think it doesn't come with a handbook. It just doesn't come with a handbook, and I didn't get any advice at all about being a parent and being diagnosed.
I actually did get HIV parenting specific advice. Um, the person that gave me this advice is no longer with me in this realm, so it stuck with me because I lost them like very soon afterwards. But basically, she said to live your life and to not treat parenthood like an interruption, but to bring the child into your life and everything that looks like. And that's what I did. I mean, I was a single mom for 9 years, so I don't necessarily want to use the phrase "it was me and her against the world," but it was. We were in our own little world, and how I showed up was, an example for her. But I always remember, this person sharing out with me of just live your life, just do you, and just bring the kid along. And I look at my mom and my grandmother, and even though I was raised in a very strict Christian household and I didn't do things step by step as I was supposed to, no one ever treated me as though my life was interrupted and that things had gone askew. It was just, all right, this is your new normal and this is what we're going to do. And love was always at the forefront of that. So when I say that's HIV specific, it kept me from dwelling on the stigma and the shadows and the secrets. I realized I could not be healthy and I could not live in a positive light for my child unless I, at the beginning at least, shared it with my family. Like, family's got to know this is what we're living with, this is what we're going to deal with. This isn't going to be the Thanksgiving secret. Like, this is just what it is. And then a couple years went by, and I was like, okay, it's time to like let everybody know. And I prepped. Hopefully, I feel like I prepped my child, step by step. Yeah, just live your life. That's what I was told.
That's good advice, honey. Um, like I mean, I really wasn't given any. Cause like I say, all of this was new to me, and like being so far away from my family, like I never really was given like any advice on what to do, what not to do. Um, so a lot of my stuff was trial and error. Um, being from the South, I always knew that when you're going out, you wrap the baby up from head to toe. You don't want your baby to get colic. Like, I just remembered all those things from growing up, and like, make sure that you check the baby pamper every 2 to 3 hours. You don't want diaper rash. So it's like those type of things like stood in my head, like growing up and having younger cousins. So like those were things that I remember. So I guess those were the things that which, again, like I say, just thinking back into my own childhood and seeing, how my cousins and stuff were raised. But other than that, no, I really wasn't given any advice. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. And from Naima, I love this discussion. I wish young women living with HIV can hear this conversation and have hope about wanting to have children. And so these are resources. So the recording from today, as well as the video, the discussion guide, those resources will be living on our website. And we are going to be working to try to get those out a little bit further. But please, by all means, share widely. These are conversations that need to be had, and especially, knowing that women living with HIV are still, in certain unfortunate cases, being counseled not to have children when they want to. And being basically told that they cannot choose to do what they want to do with their own bodies and their own lives. We need to make sure that they are also hearing something different from that. So that's where you all come in, and that's why these resources are going to live forever, and they will live on our website and should be shared widely. So I just want to give special appreciation to all three of you again. For being here with us, for taking questions, for sharing so openly and candidly about things that are not always easy to talk about. And yes, if there's anything else you would like to say before we close out, please feel free to do so. Otherwise.
I'll close by saying again, it's always a privilege and an honor to share spaces, again, with strong women, particularly strong Black women, around issues that not only uplift, but motivate and also give way for other women to be the author of the narrative of their own stories. So again, I'm grateful for that. I'm blessed, and it's definitely been an honor.
Thank you.
I co-sign that, and I also want to give a special thanks to PWN for giving the platform for us to have this conversation, and Anon for filming and being patient with us as we talked through. I don't remember if I cried during my interview. I probably did. And then also thanks for the participants and people that have shared this. I've been in a couple spaces where like trying to figure out how to get this video beyond the PWN website is super important for the reason that, as Naima said, like this conversation needs to be heard by so many others. So don't be afraid to share it on social media. I don't have a problem with it. That's why I did the video. So yeah, and just thank you to everyone.
So, and Kamaria, just share it. Women need to hear this. So I think the PWNCares is a good thing you guys are doing. So thank PWN for that.
Thank you. Well, thank you all so much. This is available on our website, pwn-usa.org/PWNCares. And there's 7 more installments, so I encourage participants and anyone watching now or later to check those out as well. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. Let Mother's Day Part 2 continue. And now my cat is trying to get out, so.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye, everyone. Love you all.
Bye.